Hello, welcome to Cephastock Movie Recaps. Today we are going to recap The Equalizer. Our most loved resigned U.S. Marine, Robert McCall, takes us on a fresh out of the plastic new exciting worldwide experience across Italy. A scene of killings and distraction meets Lorenzo Vitali as he drives to a private winery in Sicily. Requesting his young boy to stay in the vehicle, he gets a gun and enters the building. Inside, he observes a wide-range scene of death all over before at last arriving at the underground basement. Here his two bodyguards had Robert McCall at gunpoint. At the first minute he approaches Robert, lets him know that he plans to reclaim something that doesn't belong to Lorenzo. Amused that Robert was able to find him, Lorenzo cautions him that he won't leave the winery alive. Robert starts by testing Lorenzo's security in the following 9 seconds. Consistent with his word, after 9 seconds, Robert wisely kills all the security guards using the gun from one of them. Lorenzo is severely shot too, however he stays stubborn enough to crawl so that he escape. Robert follows him with a big gun and at last delivers the last shot. Pursuing what he came for, Robert then, at that point, snatches a lot of keys from Lorenzo's belt. Sometime later, Lorenzo's child figures out and takes a shot at Robert's back when he is leaving. At the point Robert tries to fight back, the kid drops his gun and runs away. On his drive back, Robert in the end drops and is viewed by the police, Gio Bonucci. In Altamonte, a wonderful beachfront town, Gio takes Robert to the nearby specialist Enzo Arriccio, who fixes Robert up. At the point when he gets up some time after, he can't answer Enzo's question about whether he was a decent man or a terrible man that they had saved. In any case, Enzo cautiously supervises Robert's recovery over the course of the following several days, and on the third day, Robert is strong enough to check out the town. At the area cafe, the cafe boss and waitress, Amina, serves him their nice coffee regardless of him having requested tea. She says that he would not take tea again once he tasted their coffee. Afterward, Gio gets to the cafe on his customary routine with his little girl, Gabby, and meets Robert. While Amina engages his girl, Gio guarantees Robert that he is in the midst of good people. He then gives up the keys to his vehicle, saying that he hadn't yet actually taken a look at Robert's bags. Back at Enzo's place, Robert secretly calls the financial operations group of the CIA and talks to agent Emma Collins. He gives her information regarding the strange winery in Sicily that was bringing in wine from Syria. Robert goes through the following couple of days getting to be aware of the local people and different entrepreneurs in the commercial center. He likewise sees that individuals from a gang harass, threaten others over their profit and forcefully ask for regular payments too. At some point, he hears Angelo, a nearby fish merchant, getting beaten by one of the gangsters, Marco Quaranta. He sees the gang leave the store after, and still more threats from Marco about coming back the following week to gather the cash. The following day, Robert visits Angelo's store out of consideration for Enzo. Kind Angelo declines money from Robert for the fish, expressing that it was his honor that Enzo's friends had come to his shop for the first time. But as we see, following Robert's clue, a group of CIA specialist agents, including Emma, find unlawful opiates as well as millions in real money at the winery in Sicily. Understanding that these were projects of a gang group that has never appeared on their radar, Emma and her partner Frank Conroy chose to continue to search for any data they could find. In the wake of examining Robert's wound one rainy day, Enzo guarantees him that not knowing whether one is a good person is to be sure that is a good person. He says that it was the reason why he and Gio didn't report Robert's accident to the authority when they found and took care of him. Somewhere else, Marco's brother Vincent advises him that they have fabulous plans for the commercialization of the town of Altamonte, with new retreats and club to be set up there. Planning to feature a guide to the remainder of the town, Marco and his gang group set fire to Angelo's shop one day while the town can do only powerlessly watch. Robert sees the gang a few distance away from the shop waiting, and later Robert and the rest of the town assists Angelo to clean up the mess. In the meantime, Gio investigates the recording from the fire and authoritatively starts an inquiry about the van that was seen around Angelo's shop. With time, Robert turns out to be part of the local people as he got to know more of them in the area. One day as usual, Robert was quietly drinking tea in Amina's cafe, when he noticed Emma there. After finally finding him, she tries to ask him why and how to have accurate information about the actual business of the winery. He insisted on giving her unclear pending answers, but also said that he sincerely hoped he tells her everything. He is actually surprised to realize that she definitely knows his name. In the meantime, when Gio goes to Gabby's school to get her that day, he gets an unknown call saying her school was over a bit sooner than the other children. He tries to ask her teacher and he was told that an official picked Gabby up only some time back. Gio runs home to find his wife and kid held hostage by Marco and his men. In revenge for Joe's investigation into their van, Marco assaults him while his family is made to watch. After Marco intends to end the life of the family if Gio somehow managed to interfere in their business once more, then after that the gang group left. At the point when Robert sees Gio leave Enzo's office soon thereafter, fixed up with a couple of bandages, he asks Enzo what's going on. Enzo lets him know that such occurrences were normal in a few towns because of the criminal association called the Camorra, or what is regularly known as the Italian Mafia. He says that Marco's gang group is a piece of the Camorra as well and that this was an issue that didn't actually have an answer. One day meeting Emma at the church, Robert inquires as to whether she has faith in miracles. She said that no. She additionally lets him know that she wasn't afraid of him regardless of whether he was a ghost because nobody has ever heard anything about him practically. She affirms that the Sicilian rancher Lorenzo Vitali had been on Interpol's most needed list for 10 years and that his activity was very enormous in itself since terrorists always used his farm for smuggling. But she was inquisitive regarding the reason why he picked her to give that unknown tip. Emma tried to ask about his intentions. He diverts discussion by saying that what she ought to rather be focusing on was the reason Sicily was being target for these smuggling activities. Promising to find the response soon, Emma shows her desire to know the answer to her original question in their next gathering. That night Marco intrudes on Joe's family supper at a restaurant. He lets him know that he to meet the Somali family and arrange some of their boats for the gang group. At the point when he spots Robert seated at a table across the room, he goes over and cautions him to avoid what doesn't concern him. Saying that he doesn't entertain threats, Robert requests that Marco take his companions and go somewhere else with their business just in light of the fact that he has started enjoying Altamonte and its people. At the point when he doesn't view Robert's words in a serious way, Marco draws near to no warning notice when a sensitive nerve on his hand gets squeezed on. Robert's way of applying the nerve pain strategy allows him to have Marco request his men to leave. He additionally gets Marco to leave his weapon. Thereafter that night, Robert battles Marco and several of his folks and at last completes them. One morning in Rome Emma receives a call from Frank to tell her about the most recent station bombing. It had been observed that the cash from the narcotics was being utilized for the similar terrorist projects. She tells straightforward that while in Naples, she will investigate getting more data from the internal gatherings to grab the wholesalers of the narcotics. In the meantime, the head of police of Naples visits Vincent and tells him about the coming of the CIA after his meeting with Emma. He recommends that Vincent shut down the entirety activity as he thinks Emma will soon figure out that the Camorra was engaged in buying from their own enemies for a thriving business. Letting him know that he will deal with things with Emma, Vincent then cuts off the boss' hand and compromises him to focus on figuring out who was answerable for taking Marco's life. Somewhere else, Emma answers Robert's call and is informed that the Camorra is behind the ongoing criminal operations. While conversing with him, she barely escapes being a serious bombarding casualty of Vincent's arrangement to bring her down. At this point another lethal bomb goes off. She is immediately rushed to the hospital to retouch her wounds, where Frank guarantees her that he will take control in the remaining parts of her work. That night, having gotten Gio and his family as leverage, Vincent declares to the town of Altamonte to uncover the individual answerable for Marco's death. He takes shots at Joe's ear and takes steps to end him with his next shot in if he isn't really offered the response that he is searching for. Similarly, as he compromises Gio with his family, Vincent is interrupted by Robert's appearance. Talking the same words he had told Marco, he says that Vincent can't remove the peace and harmony Robert had found in the town and among local people of Altamonte. He requests to Vincent to let the others go and have him, since he is the one who killed Marco. Vincent answered that he is allowed to steal everything he decides with a lot of arrogance, just like his brother. He adds that taking Robert's life in the town square where his adored local people could watch him was incredibly fitting. He says that it would be one more example to show what ends up with people who tries to mess with him and the Camorra. Before Vincent can kill him, the citizens begin to record the ordeal, causing Vincent and the rest of the Camorra to retreat with plans to retaliate the following day. Vincent returns to his compound and begins to make plans to attack Altamonte the next day. Unfortunately for them, Robert has found them first and begins to kill them. Vincent wakes up when one of his goons' blood drips on him from the ceiling before the body crashes through the glass. Vincent tries to run away but ends up knocked out by Robert. When he wakes up, he finds that Robert has given him a lethal dose of the drugs found at the vineyard, giving him a few minutes before his heart gives out. Vincent attempts to run into the street with Robert slowly walking behind him, and he ends up hit by a car. The crime lord stumbles a little further before he finally dies. At the point when Robert visits Emma, she offers her thanks for having saved her life with the call he made. Putting down the bags of money he had carried alongside him, he tells Emma of a person named Dyer who had lost his benefits due to a cyber attack. Emma then, at that point, understands that Robert had followed the trail of the assault to the winery in Sicily, completed all Lorenzo's men including Lorenzo, gotten the keys to the vault, and afterward had taken precisely as much money as was owed to Dyer. At the point when she inquires as to whether he is a friend, Robert says that they had met only a single time. At the point when Emma leaves Italy, she goes to Boston to drop the bag off to Dyer and his wife. They were relieved at not losing their home. They says thanks to Emma and asks why an outsider would take such measures for them. Emma leaves saying that she couldn't imagine anything better than to know the reason why too. One day, Emma was back to work at the CIA and she gets a package with her mom's journal and a note from Robert. It is then uncovered that Emma was the little girl of Brian and Susan Plummer, Robert's CIA friend. The film closes with scenes of cheer as the town of Altamonte commends their football team's victory and Robert joins in on the joy as one of the local people.